Thank you very much for the opportunity to present for you my. I can come. Okay. I have difficulty with hearing. I have hearing inside of the. Yeah, that's fine. And what is the issue I would like to present for you is one, I think, very important, especially in higher education at universities. We see that there is a increase of, let's say, aggressive behaviors, and they have different dimensions between among young people, verbal or sometimes always physical, and increase of self-injuries and social relationship. They became very difficult, and so that's why mental health at this field became very important for everyday life, but also for life quality and function of higher education. So this was the reason why Professor Büsing initiated this idea, and we started with Professor Skalski and other friends in Poland to make research about this issue. And that's, let's say, something which is everyday relevance important, and on the other hand, is still regarding prevention and life quality well-being in individual aspects, but also in social. I very danger in my behavior because I try to escape the main streaming of the information I would like to present you. That's why I wrote for myself exposition to be let's say disciplinized in the presentation. But there is the question for us, especially in Poland, where we have a very still, at least on the paper, Catholic population or minority are Protestant, but at least 95% or 90, they are religious on the paper. And we see a lot of corrosion, let's say. It's changed a lot, but still religious life and spiritual life will be connected with the behavior. And destructive behavior is aggression is something not acceptable morally speaking, or is difficult. And so that's the issue is there any connection between being spiritual, religious, and in this difficult antisocial, let's say, other behaviors. And here we have to differentiate this problem, because aggression is not only social dimension, it could be a self-aggression also, and has in this way many different dimensions. We were not able, that's why I would like just to advise it, to measure the whole complex dynamic aggression represent, because this is not, it could be cognitive, it could be emotional, it could be also as an attitude or disposition founded as a learned effect, but could be also based on some, there's discussion if the genetically could be, but there is a kind of complex phenomenon, and we just took one aspect, messing by measurement of aggression as a tendency to anger and hostility. This was measured with, I will say later what kind of measurement we used. This was the Boson-Perry scale used worldwide for measurement of aggressive tendencies. And we try to capture this process of aggression, not whole in this case, only those tendencies, and this is self-report at the same time, and this not always regarding situations and not all condition they are simulating such aspects. And that's why I would like to present for you the question why we focus on the in this case on gratitude and awe as a dimension of spirituality, like we just heard. And that's why here these aspects I'm just showing shortly make a systematic steps we did. So we had this aggression model reduced. We didn't analyze factors from a person or for situation, and we captured only this kind of anger, hostile appraisal, but not really, because this is the process. If you say this aggressive schema, cognitive or emotional, so this dynamic we were not able to capture. This was not the possible, and the differentiation between verbal, physical, relational, they were not measured, but just that's what I said with Perry scale was possible to see those aspects they connected with hostility and attitudes. And why gratitude and awe? Like I mentioned, this might be very interesting for our Catholic society. We have mostly as a Christian, and you would expect people, because of their attitude, religious and spiritual, they might be maybe more or less aggressive. And we know it's there is not automatic phenomenon. It's I would say sometimes religious people or spiritual might be maybe even more aggressive or self-aggressive or self-injurious and other aspects. That's why the issue in the study was to prove such aspect, at least in certain dimensions, and we add to this measurement aspects from the self-forgiveness and the forgiveness for others, and compassion, because those aspects are related to aggressive behaviors, and they are responsible for prosociality or for self-acceptance or other people acceptance. And for this study, maybe shortly just regarding our sample we had, like I mentioned, was this Polish sampling. We analyzed 390 participants. The average age was like 23, so they in between with their study, and those aspects they played here one role. You see the analysis variables were gratitude and awe, aggression, forgiveness, compassion, and humility. Regarding concrete instruments and statistic here relevant we see on this presentation, and I would go to the correlation among those variables. We put it together in the study, and so it's in this case for us interesting to just to mention that gratitude and awe were negatively related to aggression. The correlation was modest but still significant. Aggression was mostly related to compassion and forgiveness of others. And people with we could say with higher compassion and higher forgiveness of others tend to report lower aggression, and forgiveness by God and humility were not directly related to aggression in this sample. This is for us very important. It suggests that declared spiritual or moral dimension alone are not enough. What matters more directly is whether the person is able to forgive and to respond with compassion, and to see more exactly what kind of mechanism is here important. We made analysis with parallel mediation model. And here we tested whether relationship between gratitude and awe and aggression is explained by 5 mediators. And in this case, there was self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, forgiveness by God, compassion, and humility. And the total indirect effect was significant. And it means that gratitude and awe were related to lower aggression through mediating disposition. And in this case, the mediators were significant. This was self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others, and self-forgiveness were also important. Forgiveness by God and humility were not significant mediators, and we can say this means that spiritual dimension became important when it is translated into concrete relational transformation. So that's the idea in this case. Going with our analysis of the data we've got, so we have to say here the results are not simple, like technically speaking. We could say that some forms of religiosity are mature, compassionate, and with effects for reconciliation. But some forms may also consist with judgment, moral superiority, exclusion, passive aggression, or symbolic hostility. That's why in our model, forgiveness by God did not directly explain lower aggression. This does not mean that divine forgiveness is unimportant, but it means that it may become psychologically protective only when it helps a person forgive oneself, forgive others, and become more compassionate. So that's why that's maybe is this the point of view we could prove here. And closing my presentation, I would like just to point out the aggression should not focus only control, discipline, or punishment. That's because when we have a problem with aggressive behavior, we look for that, how to disciplinize or how to control. The one important consequence of this study there shows that there are boundaries are necessary through education and counseling, helping people to develop moral, emotional resources. A gratitude exercise may help students notice support and goodness would be, and AVE-based reflection may reduce narrow self-accuse. Forgiveness work may reduce resentment and revenge motivation, and compassion training may be especially important here because compassion was in this field the strongest mediator, as we found in our model. That's why in working in counseling, that's be important to look for that. In the spiritual care, forgiveness should not, this is the point of view, should not remain only an abstract message. It should support concrete relationship and change would be maybe in this field much more helpful. I think I'm so far. This study was limited, cross-sectional and self-report data, and young, modestly female sample. So that was the one reason. And future, we would have to broadly make measurement for aggression more differentiated, and there would be a discussion if we could separate gratitude from AVE, and test in the test intervention of this is maybe a way to get more information about this problematic. Thank you very much.